Hi, my name's Jonathan Hicks. I'm back at the Dice Cup, and this evening I'm joined by
Mark.
Steve.
Thomas.
and we just finished playing Lords of Waterdeep, which is set in the Dungeons and Dragons universe, but it's essentially a worker placement game. So at the start of your turn, you have a couple of these workers, and you plonk it on one of the worker placement spaces around the board, and a lot of them will get you stuff. There's 4 kinds of cubes. Now, the theme is a little bit thin on top of this one, I will say, but you've got warriors, rogues, mages, and priests, clerics, some kind of holy type thing. So you can go here and get to warriors, or here you can get to rogues. So there's various spaces where you can get the different cubes. But essentially you're trying to get cubes into order to complete quests. You can go to one of these spaces to get quests and possibly a bit of money as well. But when you get a quest, you add it to your sort of supply of quests, and then the quests require you to have certain sorts of heroes, I guess. So this requires you to have 4 warriors, a rogue, and a mage, and you spend a bit of money. You send them off to deliver weapons to Selun's temple, and then you get some kind of reward. So ultimately you're just trying to get as many victory points as you can. That gives you 9 points, and also 2 priests. So you're kind of going through the game, getting as many of the resources as you can, and then trying to cash them in for points at the various quests. Now there's a few things that add to that. One interesting thing is the building spot. If someone goes here, they get to take one of these buildings and put it on the edge of the board. At the start of the game, all these spaces, these worker placement spaces, don't exist. They're just empty. But once they're put there, you kind of put a mark here to show that it's yours, and if someone else then goes onto a particular spot, they get the stuff, whatever it is. So in this case, they get a couple of rogues. But then whoever owns the building also gets a bonus. In this case, yellow would get a rogue themselves. So there's quite an incentive. You have to pay a bit of money when you're building the buildings, but there's an incentive to get the buildings out early, because then as people keep using them, you're getting free stuff throughout the game. So that's quite nice. You can go to, if you go to one of these spaces here, then you get to play intrigue cards. Now these are kind of do various things. So this one says take 4 money from the supply and pick an opponent. That opponent also gets 2 money from the supply. So this kind of, you get some stuff and someone else gets some stuff. So they can be quite useful. They're a bit random, but essentially they're ways of either getting you more stuff, possibly cubes, or sometimes they take stuff off other people. It might say everyone has to return a purple cube back to the supply. So you can kind of play your cubes here. The advantage of this is once everyone's been, you get to take your worker and put it on another spot that's empty. You can go here and get the first player marker, for example, and gain an intrigue card. So pretty much that is it. You're just going around, as I say, collecting the resources, getting the points. Everyone does have a lord. I, in this case, had Durnan the Wanderer, and it gives you a bit of end-game like strategy. So in this case, I was trying to complete commerce and warfare quests. Each one will get me another 4 points. So every quest has a sort of type at the top, and you're trying to complete those for extra points. At the end, most points wins. What do we think?
Yeah, I liked it. It's the first time I played it. It seemed like at the start people were going for buildings more, and then at the end, by the end, because the buildings are obviously a long-term thing, you didn't want them as much, so there's that change during the game. And it doesn't take too long. It's not too complicated. Yeah, I really liked it.
Okay, Steve?
It's really nice. It's an old game, and it's one of the original worker placement games, and it's got some nastiness in. It's got the nastiness of the worker placement thing, taking the spot that someone else wants. It's also got the intrigue cards, and some of them directly target some people who've got mandatory quests and cards that, like, I'm about to complete a quest. Oh no, someone's just made me lose my purple cube. So I'm absolutely fine with it, because it's kind of it's laced into the theme of the game. If you don't like your nastiness, possibly not one for you. I really like the buildings and the plot quests. The kind of like incremental advantage over the games. The plot quests are quests when you complete that give you a bonus every time you do certain things, and the buildings, when other people go there, you get stuff, and that kind of incremental advantage makes them really powerful early on, because if you can build a building and then it gets used 8 times over the course of the game, you're going to get 8 cubes back for building that building. So it kind of balances out. It's really nice, and it's aged quite well, I think.
Aurora?
So I think it's a very cool game. It does require a lot of concentration, and it was a bit long, but the intrigue cards are quite cool, even though it does screw you over towards the end, especially when people want to play mean. But it was a very nice game.
Okay. Thomas?
Also the first time playing it, and I definitely see it's easy to get into, but obviously for the more experienced players here at the table, they know the small mix and match of the game. So for instance, they knew to get buildings out early, you get a lot of points. They knew this quest is good, this type of thing to do is good, but overall easy to get into, and I think could be easy to master if you play it enough.
Rating?
7 out of 10.
Okay.
8 out of 10.
7.5.
8.
Okay. Yeah, as a worker placement game, a fairly simple worker placement game. I think it does the job well. I find the theme is just super pasted on. So for me, it feels very dry. Even though in theory there's lots of Dungeons and Dragons here, they're just different coloured cubes. I don't really get that. I'm not so keen on the take that stuff. It just feels a bit random with the intrigue cards sometimes. When you draw them, they're very helpful for you. Sometimes they're not. And sometimes, as Steve was saying, people can just take your stuff just when you're about to complete a quest. So I wasn't very keen on that. But if you don't mind that and you want an introductory worker placement, it's solid. There's a decent game here. I would be on a 6 out of 10 myself, I think. All right, thanks for watching. That was Lords of Waterdeep.